genuinely don't know what I'm going to say here, mates. Hello and welcome to LFC Focus. It is post-match reaction show time after Liverpool have just lost 3-0 to Watford at Vicarage Road. And I'm really not sure where to start or end when it comes to analysing that performance. I mean, first of all, let's get it out of the way. Credit to Watford, they were good. They had a clear game plan. It was very, very effective in terms of how it was set up to stifle Liverpool's attack and catch us out on the break. They executed that game plan absolutely fantastically. Ismaila Sarr kept a brilliantly cool head for those chances that he had. Same with Troy Deeney when he basically mirrors Gerrard's goal against Everton from way back in 2012 by just lobbing the entire defence in one go into what was basically an empty net, because God knows what had happened with our defence. All things considered, it was a very, very good performance from Watford, and I think they absolutely deserved to win. And maybe 3-0 as a slight misreflection of how the game actually panned out, but they certainly deserve to come away with 3 points. And I think it's fair to say, coming on to Liverpool's performance now, we did not deserve to get anything whatsoever out of that game. And frankly, if the Premier League and the FA came out afterwards and said that we were getting a points deduction after that performance, I would say, you know what, fair play, because we were absolutely dreadful. I'm probably going to run out of superlatives to describe things that are very bad by the time we reach the end of this video. I'm going to try and exhaust as many of them as I possibly can, because I think pretty much all of them apply to that performance from Liverpool. Starting from, maybe Alisson Becker, probably the only player who can come away with any credit. I think made a couple of decent saves in the first half when it was still 0-0. He makes himself very, very big for that situation where the entire defence just decided they couldn't be bothered doing anything about the presence of Troy Deeney, and Watford have that attack where Alisson has to make himself big multiple times in order to prevent a Watford goal before the half-time break. Apart from that, he let in the goals, which is a shame, but he was put in a very, 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 very compromising situation by the defence, so it's hard to really fault him for those. Moving on to the defence then, rubbish. Utter, unfathomably rubbish. I have no idea where that came from. And that's why it's so difficult to analyse this performance. I don't know what happened. I don't know why this has happened. I don't know where this Liverpool performance has come from. Yes, we have been poor since the winter break. We haven't come back and hit the ground running in the same way that we were absolutely dominating teams and winning games with ease before we went into that break. Most of our wins have been scrappy. They've been by one goal. They've been where we've had to dig in and use moments of individual quality over moments of, a coherent team performance to actually get the result out. But today, it seemed like that just caught up with us. It seemed like finally a team had sussed Liverpool out, had seen that there were clear issues with the way we were playing, had seen that there was clearly a way to beat this Liverpool side now, that they aren't invincible, that there is a way around them if you play to the best of your ability and you have a clear plan and you execute it very well. And Watford did that, and Liverpool were just caught with their trousers down today, basically, to be honest. I think is actually the best way to describe it. We came to Watford not playing our best, without any sort of clear game plan, it seemed, just trying to do what we usually had done this season, and they had absolutely sussed us out from minute 1 to minute 90. I mean, it was clear right from the off that this was not a good day at the office for Liverpool. Watford had the lion's share of the early chances. We only had one shot in the first half, and that was an absolutely dreadful half chance that Mo Salah snatched at. I can't think of if we had any shots in the second half. We had moments of pressure, of course. We had moments where we kept the ball for ages, but Watford had us at more than arm's length for pretty much the entirety of that match. They had us in their pocket. They were absolutely happy with how the game panned out. We never, ever, ever made things difficult for them. Defensively, we were just wide open. We actually helped them at times. The third goal comes from an absolutely dreadful back pass that plays Ismaila Sarr in on goal. The midfield didn't exist. I mean, anyone who follows the Twitter will have seen at half-time I said that game is as good as any of an advert for Jordan Henderson. Anyone who thinks that he isn't our player of the year after that match needs to get their head checked, because there was nothing going on in the middle of the park. And whatever it is, however you value Jordan Henderson, whatever it is you think he brings to the side, it definitely wasn't there today, and Liverpool suffered massively as a result. There just didn't seem to be any creativity in the middle of the park, and out wide as well. Trent Alexander-Arnold and Andrew Robertson were stifled very, very well by Watford. But what we need to do when that happens, because obviously the fullbacks are so influential, is take advantage of the space that should inevitably be left in the middle of the park. And nobody did. Fabinho was far too preoccupied with not marking anyone on the other side of the pitch. Gini Wijnaldum was non-existent. Oxlade-Chamberlain just couldn't actually see a pass to save his life. Every single time he gets the ball, he can't actually spot any runs. The front three as well were just sort of going through the motions, really, which was bizarre. They weren't dreadful. There were a couple of times where they stacked it for no reason. I don't know why that kept happening as well. Just Liverpool players falling over under absolutely no pressure for no reason. But they were just kind of doing the same runs every single time, trying to break the lines in the same way every single time, and it was clear it wasn't working, and we just didn't work out how to stop it. I mean, maybe there's an issue here with squad depth for Liverpool and with options from the bench. You know, Divock Origi comes on and has no influence whatsoever. Takumi Minamino is still clearly way off being able to actually influence matches, you know, on a decisive level for Liverpool. Xherdan Shaqiri has been AWOL for absolutely months now, and with the rumours linking us to Timo Werner over the last few weeks, I can only see them amplifying now with the way Liverpool play today. We desperately needed someone else. I'm not going to say a player like that because I don't want to say that there's this kind of catch-all saviour player that we can bring in and will suddenly solve all our problems and nothing like this will ever happen again and Liverpool will win every single match between now and the end of time, or at least until Jurgen Klopp and all the current crop retire and stuff like that. But we needed something other than what we had available today. We needed fresh legs off the bench as well. We needed someone to just bring something different and bring something extra as well. Having Origi on, the idea seemed to be having an extra body going forward to free up some space, kind of like when we brought Oxlade-Chamberlain on against West Ham. But it just didn't work. It's really hard for me to analyse this because there's so many things went wrong that it's really difficult to pinpoint what actually was, you know, the catastrophic failure that led Liverpool to lose today. I think it was just one of those days where every single player was terrible, was just utterly rubbish. And the only thing we as Liverpool fans can hope going into the rest of the season is that this never happens again. Of course, now the potential game where we win the league gets postponed. It will almost definitely now happen after the international break, barring Manchester City hitting an awful run of form or anything like that. As it stands, if I think we don't get through to the next round of the FA Cup, it could happen in the game against at the Etihad against Man City. If we do go through to the next round of the FA Cup, it could be potentially a week later against, I think it's Burnley at home. So, you know, I don't think we really want to think anything about that at the moment. It almost felt like, you know, slightly tempting fate as the Liverpool fans were still singing we're going to win the league from the away end after we went 3-0 down. I'm not by any stretch of the imagination suggesting that this is curtains for our title charge and suddenly it's back on and Manchester City should stand up and take note or anything like that. As it stands, we still have a 22-point lead, albeit Manchester City having a game in hand. As it stands, we still should be absolutely fine. But that doesn't mean we can just cast this game aside and forget it ever happened. There's clearly something wrong. If a team like Watford, no disrespect to them, they are 19th in the Premier League table. They're 19th for a reason. Their players aren't that good, if we're being perfectly honest. And Nigel Pearson, you know, while he did have a very good tactical plan today, is somewhat limited in terms of the way he can play games of football. If they can come up against this team that are European champions, world champions, English champions elect, and put in that kind of performance where they not only beat us, but they absolutely dominate us and they run the show and they fully deserve it. You know, the game against West Ham, while we were poor, they didn't deserve to win that game, if they had done or whether they didn't. Watford absolutely deserved to beat Liverpool today. They were streets ahead of us in terms of quality, in terms of tactical plan and the way it was executed. There's no universe in which Liverpool win that game today. Watford just smashed us off the park. And that should ring an alarm bell. That should worry Liverpool. And when you think about also the Atletico Madrid result in the Champions League as well, you do start to wonder whether there's an issue here with how we just haven't got going coming off the back of that winter break. Something clearly needs to change. Hopefully we see a response to it soon. It's kind of annoying that we now have to wait another week until the Premier League game, and of course the next Premier League game even against Bournemouth. And in the meantime, we have got the FA Cup tie. I certainly wouldn't be surprised if Jurgen Klopp plays a lot of first teamers in that game, simply because we've seen him do that kind of thing in the past. I remember back to the 2-0 loss at Turf Moor in the second game of the 16-17 season, Jurgen Klopp's first full season in charge as Liverpool manager. When we lost against Burnley, we were utterly dreadful. We were essentially played off the park, albeit we had like 81% possession or something like that. But Burnley had control of the game all the way through. They knew exactly what they were doing and Liverpool were just all over the show. Not long after that, in midweek, we played Burton in the League Cup and Jurgen Klopp basically played the same team as a way of saying, you know, get out, put that result behind you, prove that it was just an aberration, prove that you are the brilliant team we know you all are. Like I said, these are world champions, European champions. They're not rubbish. Today was not a reflection of the quality of this Liverpool side, and what we've got to make sure is that it just never happens again. Hopefully, because like I said, I still think we're going to win the league, but I'd now definitely rather we wrapped it up sooner rather than later, because I don't think I can take any more results like that between now and the end of the season. And of course, this means Invincibles is down the drain. Personally, I was never hugely fussed about that. You know, it obviously, you know, it's something to remember. The Arsenal Invincible side is obviously very famous, but on the flip side, what we as Liverpool fans really care about is not a little gold supplementary Premier League trophy. It's not Centurions and getting 100 points or anything ridiculous like that. It is simply winning the Premier League for the first time in 30 years, and provided we can put this result behind us, learn as many lessons as possible from it, and enforce those lessons on the pitch over the coming games in the Premier League, we should still, fingers crossed, touch wood, and everything else you want to do superstition-wise, win that 19th Premier League title and put all those 30 years of demons behind us. So that is all for today's video. Thank you guys very, very much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, hit the like button down below. I'm sure you didn't enjoy the performance, but you may have got some sort of cathartic release out of watching this semi-rant about the game. And if you haven't had enough of that already, feel free to absolutely let loose down in the comments below as well. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button there as well if you're new around here. Check out some of the other videos that have been out on the channel over the past few days. Don't forget to follow at LFC Focus TV on Twitter. I'll be back soon with the pre-match content for that FA Cup game against Chelsea. Until then, bye for now.